War has a way of revealing our humanity in its rawest form. Behind every soldier's uniform lies a story, a tapestry of hopes, dreams, and the people they left behind. Today, we tell the story of one such soldier, Sergeant James Michael Callahan of the United States Army, 10th Mountain Division, 2nd Battalion, 87th Infantry Regiment. Born on a crisp autumn morning in 1982 in South Boston, James, or Jimmy as his friends called him, was the second son of Michael and Catherine Callahan. The Callahans weren't wealthy by any measure, but their modest triple-decker on East 3rd Street was rich with laughter, heated political debates, and Sunday dinners where Catherine's Irish stew brought the family together after Mass at St. Bridget's Church. Jimmy's father had served in Vietnam, and his grandfather in World War II. Military service ran in the Callahan blood, a fact Jimmy was reminded of whenever his father would bring out the old wooden box containing his grandfather's Purple Heart and his father's service medals. As a boy, Jimmy would trace his fingers over these symbols of sacrifice with reverence, while his father told stories, the sanitized versions, of what it meant to serve one's country. In high school, Jimmy wasn't the academic star his older brother Patrick had been. Instead, he found his place on the hockey rink and baseball diamond. A natural athlete with a quick smile and quicker wit, he was the kind of teenager who could charm parents and troublemakers alike. His English teacher, Ms. Donovan, once wrote on his report card, "James has a poet's heart, hidden behind an athlete's bravado. If only he would let more people see it." That poet's heart remained mostly hidden until his junior year, when Nora Sullivan transferred to South Boston High. The daughter of a firefighter and a nurse, Nora had warm hazel eyes that crinkled when she laughed and a stubborn streak that matched Jimmy's own. She challenged him, not just to be better at hockey or baseball, but to think about the world beyond South Boston. They would debate for hours at Murphy's Diner over coffee, arguing about politics, religion, and whether the Red Sox would ever break the curse of the Bambino. After graduation in 2000, while many of his friends headed to college or took up trades, Jimmy felt the pull of family tradition. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, only strengthened his resolve. He enlisted in the Army at 19, despite Nora's tears and his mother's silent worry. His father, though, understood. The night before Jimmy left for basic training, Michael Callahan added his own dog tags to the family's wooden box of military mementos. "These kept me safe," he told his son. "Maybe they'll do the same for you." Basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, transformed the hockey player from Southie into a soldier. Jimmy's letters home during those months revealed both pride and homesickness. He wrote about the brutal heat, the drill sergeants who seemed to take particular pleasure in making the Boston boy suffer, and the unexpected brotherhood he found with young men from places he'd never visited. Farm boys from Iowa, surfers from California, and city kids from Chicago. It was during his first deployment to Iraq in 2004 that Jimmy's letters to Nora began to change. The youthful bravado gave way to more somber reflections. He wrote about the strange beauty of desert sunsets, the children who followed the American convoys begging for candy and water, and the constant gnawing fear that hummed beneath every patrol. What he didn't write about, what he would later confess to Nora during a 2-week leave, were the nightmares, the friends lost to roadside bombs, and the growing sense that the war had no clear end in sight. Yet somehow, between deployments, Jimmy and Nora managed to build a life together. They married in 2006 in a ceremony at St. Bridget's, with Jimmy in his dress uniform and Nora in her mother's restored wedding gown. For their honeymoon, they drove up the New England coast, stopping at small bed and breakfasts along the way, taking photographs of lighthouses and collecting seashells that would later line the windowsills of their small apartment in Jamaica Plain. By 2009, Jimmy had risen to the rank of sergeant. His superiors noted his natural leadership abilities, his calm under pressure, and his knack for keeping morale high even in the most challenging circumstances. When he received orders for Afghanistan in early 2011, it would be his third deployment, but his first to the mountains and valleys where American forces had been fighting for nearly a decade. The night before he left, Jimmy and Nora sat on their apartment rooftop, sharing a bottle of wine under the stars. Nora was 7 months pregnant with their first child, a daughter they had already decided to name Catherine, after Jimmy's mother. As they talked about names, nursery colors, and the future, they both carefully avoided the uncertainty that loomed over everything, whether Jimmy would return to meet his daughter. "I'll be back before she starts dating," Jimmy joked, his hand resting on Nora's belly. "No boy is getting near her without passing my inspection first." Afghanistan was different from Iraq. The terrain, the tactics, the enemy, everything required adjustment. Jimmy's letters home spoke of the breathtaking beauty of the Hindu Kush Mountains, the resilience of the Afghan people, and the complexity of a conflict that had spanned generations. His unit was stationed in Kandahar province, one of the most volatile regions and a Taliban stronghold. In what would be his final letter home, received by Nora a week before the official army notification, Jimmy wrote about a local Afghan girl who reminded him of what their daughter might look like someday. "She has this fierce look in her eyes, like she's ready to take on the whole world, just like her mother." 3 days after writing that letter, on June 17th, 2011, Sergeant James Callahan led a patrol through a mountain pass outside of Kandahar city. Intelligence had indicated Taliban fighters were using the route to transport weapons. What they didn't know was that the intelligence had been compromised. The patrol walked into an ambush. In the ensuing firefight, Jimmy was fatally wounded while pulling one of his men to safety. Those who served with him would later tell Nora that Jimmy died as he had lived, thinking of others before himself. His last words, spoken to the medic who tried desperately to save him, were a request: "Tell Nora and Katie that the best parts of me are with them." 2 days after Jimmy's death, while going through his personal effects, his commanding officer discovered a sealed envelope marked "For Nora, if." It was common practice for soldiers to write such letters, though many hoped they would never be delivered. The letter traveled back to Boston with Jimmy's body, handed to Nora by a solemn-faced officer at Dover Air Force Base as her daughter, born a month early, slept in her grandmother's arms. For 10 years, Nora kept that letter private, a final connection to the husband she lost. The father her daughter would know, only through photographs and stories. But now, on the 10th anniversary of his sacrifice, she has agreed to share Jimmy's final words, hoping they might help others understand the very human cost of war and the extraordinary love that sustains, even in the face of ultimate loss.
My dearest Nora, if you're reading this, then I guess we need to have that conversation we've been avoiding since the day I put on this uniform. The one where I tell you how to go on without me, and you pretend to listen while secretly planning to do exactly what you think is best anyway. Just like you've always done. It's one of the countless reasons I fell in love with you, that stubborn independence. First, the practical stuff they don't show in the movies. The Army will send someone to help you navigate the benefits and paperwork. Don't be too proud to accept help, not just from them, but from our families, our friends. Let my mom take the baby for a night so you can sleep. Let your dad fix that leaky faucet in the bathroom that I promised I'd get to when I came home. The one that drips in a rhythm that sounds almost like it's saying, fix me, all night long. There's a life insurance policy. It's not a fortune, but it should give you breathing room. The details are in the fireproof box in our closet, along with the will and other papers. Use some of it to finish your nursing degree. Remember how we talked about you working in pediatrics? You'd be amazing at that, Nora. Those kids would be so lucky to have you fighting for them. Now for the harder part. I'm sitting here on a cot in a tent in Kandahar, trying to find words worthy of what we've shared, what we've built, what we've been to each other. The guys are playing cards a few feet away, razzing each other about who's got the prettiest girlfriend waiting back home. I haven't joined in because they already know I'd win, hands down. It's strange to write this letter knowing, hoping, you'll never read it. Like a conversation with a ghost. But if you are reading it, then I've become the ghost, and that thought is almost too much to bear. Here's what I need you to know. I died doing something I believed in, not the politics or the strategies. God knows those change with every administration. What I believed in was standing beside the men and women who wear this uniform, in trying to make things a little safer for the people caught in the middle of conflicts they never asked for, in representing the best of what our country can be, even when we don't always live up to that ideal. I believed in the kid from our neighborhood who might get a chance at a better life because someone stood up when it mattered. The same way my father did. The same way his father did before him. But most of all, Nora, I believed in us. In the future we planned. In the family we started. And that's the hardest part of writing this letter, knowing I won't be there to see it unfold. I won't be there for Katie's first steps, first words, first day of school. I won't be there to scare away her first boyfriend or walk her down the aisle. I won't be there to grow old with you, sitting on some porch in Maine like we always talked about, watching the ocean and complaining about our arthritis. It's not fair. None of it. And you have every right to be angry at the war, at the army, at me for choosing this path. Be angry if you need to be. Scream at the sky. Break the plates I always left in the sink. Do whatever you need to do. Just promise me you won't stay there in that anger. It's a comfortable place to visit, but a terrible place to live. Because here's the truth, love. We had something most people search their whole lives for and never find. Remember that night on Carson Beach, right after we graduated? The way the stars seemed impossibly bright, and the future stretched out before us like an adventure we couldn't wait to begin? You wore that blue dress with the tear in the hem from when you caught it on the boardwalk railing. Your hair smelled like the ocean. When you laughed, I thought, this is it. This is the sound I want to hear for the rest of my life. We didn't get the rest of our lives we planned, but what we did get was real. So devastatingly, beautifully real. And now we have Katie, our daughter, half you, half me, and entirely her own person. Tell her about me, will you? Not just the sergeant with the medals and the flag they'll hand you at the funeral. Tell her about Jimmy from Southie who couldn't dance to save his life but tried anyway because her mother loved to dance. The guy who burned the Thanksgiving turkey 2 years in a row but made world-class pancakes on Sunday mornings. Tell her I loved the Red Sox and hated the Yankees with a passion that defied logic. That I cried at the end of Field of Dreams every single time. That I believed a good cup of coffee and 10 minutes of quiet in the morning could solve most of life's problems. Tell her that the day we found out you were pregnant was the happiest day of my life. That I talked to her every night through your belly, telling her stories about our neighborhood, our families, the world she would inherit. That I had already started saving for her college fund because I was determined she would have every opportunity we didn't. Most of all, tell her that love doesn't end. Not with distance, not with time, not even with death. The love I have for you both is woven into the fabric of whoever I am, whatever I am. It crosses mountains and deserts and oceans. It exists outside of time itself. I have this recurring dream out here, Nora. In it, I'm an old man, sitting on that porch in Maine we always talked about. You're beside me, your hair silver, but your eyes exactly the same. Katie visits with her own children, and they run along the beach collecting shells and sea glass. In the dream, I can feel the warmth of the sun on my face and your hand in mine. Soft with age, but still strong. Still yours. I know now that dream won't come true. At least not in the way we planned. But dreams have power beyond their fulfillment. They show us what matters. They give us something to reach for. So I'm giving you this dream to hold on to, to reshape in whatever way brings you comfort. There's an envelope in the box with my dog tags. It contains a key to a safe deposit box at the bank on Center Street. Inside are letters I've written to Katie, one for her to open on each birthday until she turns 18. It was going to be a surprise for both of you when I came home. I guess it still is, just not the way I intended. I'm running out of space on this paper, and there's still so much to say. 1,000 lifetimes wouldn't be enough to tell you everything you've meant to me, Nora Sullivan Callahan. You made a better man of me. You taught me that strength isn't about not showing weakness, but about continuing forward despite it. You gave me a home that existed wherever you were. So here's what I ask of you, my love. Live. Not just exist, but really live. Take Katie to the ocean. Show her how to catch the perfect wave. Travel to those places we put pins on our map for someday. Finish your degree. Fall in love again, if you find someone worthy of you. Though I admit the thought tears me apart, even as I write it. Keep that ridiculous Christmas cactus alive. It's surprisingly hardy for something that looks so fragile. Kind of like you. Forgive yourself on the days when grief makes it hard to be the mother you want to be. Katie won't remember those days. She'll remember the thousands of moments you were there, fully present, loving her enough for both of us. And on the hardest days, the days when you can't imagine taking another step, go to that beach where we first said, I love you. Feel the sand between your toes, the wind in your hair. Look out at that endless horizon where the ocean meets the sky. I'll be there, Nora. In the crash of every wave, in the call of every gull, in the beauty that persists, even in the face of loss. They're calling for lights out soon. I should wrap this up, though God knows I don't want to. Writing to you makes you feel closer somehow. Makes home feel not quite so far away. One last thing. I've enclosed a small stone I found on patrol yesterday. It's nothing special, just smooth and white with flecks of something that catches the light. It reminded me of that collection you keep on our windowsill. If I make it home, I'll take it back out of this envelope and hand it to you myself. And we can laugh about how sentimental I've become out here. If not, then add it to the collection. Let it remind you not of what was lost, but of what can never be taken away. All my love, all my heart, all my soul. Always and forever yours, Jimmy. P.S. Tell my dad I wore his dog tags just like he said. They kept me safe in all the ways that mattered most.
There is an ancient Greek concept called kairos, a word that describes not chronological time, but the perfect, opportune moment. The moment when everything changes. For Nora Callahan and her daughter Catherine, that moment came on a summer day in 2011, dividing their lives into before and after. But there were kairos moments before that day too. The moment James first saw Nora in the hallway of South Boston High. The moment they decided to build a life together. The moment they learned they would become parents. These moments, strung together like lights on a wire, illuminate the path of a life well lived, however brief. War creates a particular kind of absence. Not just the physical absence of a person, but the absence of potential futures, of might-have-beens. The children never born, the anniversaries never celebrated, the arguments never resolved, the reconciliations never achieved, the growing old together never experienced. And yet, in that absence, something remains, something indestructible. We live in an age where permanence feels increasingly rare. Our digital photographs can be deleted with a keystroke. Our communications disappear into the ether. Our most treasured possessions become obsolete almost as soon as we acquire them. Yet the love between two people, that ancient elemental force, remains as permanent as the stars. It outlasts the body. It outlasts memory. It might even outlast time itself. Since the beginning of human conflict, letters like James Callahan's have made their way home from battlefields across the world. Written by candlelight in trenches, on ship decks under star-filled skies, in desert tents as sandstorms rage outside. They are perhaps our most honest historical documents. Not the grand strategies of generals or the political machinations of leaders, but the raw, unfiltered emotions of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. What these letters reveal across centuries and continents is remarkably consistent. Beneath the specifics of each conflict, each historical moment, lie the same fundamental human concerns. Will I be remembered? Did my life have meaning? Will those I love be okay without me? And most poignantly, did they know how much I loved them? James Callahan's letter to Nora speaks to something universal about the human experience. We are, all of us, temporary creatures in love with permanence. We build monuments, create art, have children, plant trees whose shade we will never sit under, all in defiance of our own impermanence. And perhaps there is no greater act of defiance, no more profound rejection of the temporary nature of existence than to love another person completely, knowing how fragile life is, knowing that hearts can break, knowing that goodbye is always a possibility. Today, Catherine Callahan is 10 years old. She has her father's eyes and her mother's determination. She plays hockey in the winter and softball in the spring. She collects stones from every beach she visits and keeps them in jars on her windowsill, where the morning light catches them. She knows her father through stories, photographs, and the birthday letters she opens each year. Letters that grow in complexity as she does, answering questions before she even thinks to ask them. Nora Callahan finished her nursing degree when Catherine was 4. She works in the pediatric oncology ward at Boston Children's Hospital, where her colleagues marvel at her capacity for compassion, her ability to sit with families in their darkest hours and somehow help them find slivers of light. Only Nora knows where that capacity comes from. How grief, when it doesn't destroy you, can deepen your humanity in ways nothing else can. The stone that James enclosed in his final letter sits on Nora's bedside table, not in the collection on the windowsill, but close enough that she can reach for it in those moments between sleep and waking, when the line between present and past, between here and gone, feels thinnest. It is a simple thing, smooth, white, unremarkable to anyone else's eyes, but it contains multitudes. A soldier's last thoughts of home, a promise that some connections transcend physical presence, a reminder that love leaves artifacts. What do we learn from stories like James and Nora's? What wisdom can we extract from their particular joy and particular sorrow? Perhaps it's this, that life's most precious gifts are often disguised as ordinary moments. A conversation over coffee in a diner, a dance in the kitchen when a favorite song comes on the radio, the weight of a sleeping child on your chest, the familiar sound of a key turning in a lock at the end of the day. We move through these moments often without noticing them, our attention pulled toward some imagined future where happiness awaits after the next achievement, the next acquisition, the next milestone. But those ordinary moments are life itself, happening while we're making other plans. James understood this in the clarity that sometimes comes only in extremity. In his letter, he doesn't dwell on career accomplishments or material possessions. He remembers the smell of Nora's hair on a beach at night, the sound of her laughter, the feeling of his hand on her belly as their daughter grew within. In the economy of memory, these are the moments that appreciate in value. These are the treasures we carry. There are nearly 2.5 million post-September 11th veterans in America today. They walk among us, teaching in our schools, working in our hospitals, serving in our government, building our businesses. Many carry visible wounds. Many more carry wounds we cannot see. And alongside them are the families who bear their own kind of battle scars. The parents who startle at every unexpected knock on the door. The children who scan crowds for a face they recognize only from photographs. The partners who learn to build a life around an absence. Their stories deserve to be heard, not just on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but in the daily accounting of who we are as a nation, what we value, what we owe each other. Since ancient times, societies have created rituals to honor their war dead. We build monuments of marble and granite. We lay wreaths. We observe moments of silence. These rituals serve an important purpose. They connect us to our collective past and remind us of shared sacrifice. But perhaps the most meaningful memorial is the one James himself suggested: to live. Not just to exist, but to fully inhabit our lives. To feel the sand between our toes. To look with wonder at the place where ocean meets sky. To collect stones that catch the light. To recognize that loving deeply, despite the risk of loss, is not a weakness, but the greatest courage. As the sun sets over Carson Beach, a woman and her daughter walk along the shoreline. The girl runs ahead, occasionally stooping to examine something in the sand, calling for her mother to come look at her discoveries. The woman smiles, her grief not gone, but transformed into something she can carry. In the distance, the Boston skyline glitters against the darkening sky, lights coming on one by one. It is an ordinary moment, and in its ordinariness lies its extraordinary beauty. In a letter now framed in their home, a man who loved them wrote, "Tell her that love doesn't end, not with distance, not with time, not even with death." Tonight, as on so many nights before, Nora will read the next page of one of James's birthday letters to Catherine before bed. Tonight, as on so many nights before, she will kiss her daughter's forehead and turn out the light. Tonight, as on so many nights before, she will feel both the weight of absence and the buoyancy of love that refuses to end. And somehow, that will be enough.